It was a hot summer night in Los Angeles, August 8, 1969, when actress Sharon Tate and 4 others were brutally murdered in her home. The details of the murders were gruesome, with Tate being 8 months pregnant at the time. But it wasn't just the brutality of the murders that made them so shocking. It was the fact that they were carried out by a group of young people who were following the orders of a man named Charles Manson. Manson was a small-time criminal who had spent most of his life in prison. He had a history of violence and had spent time in a psychiatric hospital, where he had developed a bizarre belief system that he called helter-skelter. According to Manson, a race war was imminent, and he and his followers, whom he called his family, were destined to emerge as the rulers of a new world order. In the summer of 1969, Manson and his followers had set up camp at an old movie ranch in the hills above Los Angeles. They spent their days smoking marijuana, playing music, and talking about their beliefs. Manson had convinced them that he was a messiah figure who had been chosen to lead the race war, and they were willing to do whatever he asked of them. On the night of August 8th, Manson told 4 of his followers, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Linda Kasabian, and Patricia Krenwinkel, to go to a house in the hills and destroy everyone in it. The house belonged to Roman Polanski, a film director who was out of town at the time, and his wife, Sharon Tate, who was staying there with some friends. The 4 followers arrived at the house just after midnight and began their brutal attack. They tied up the occupants and then proceeded to stab and shoot them, all the while chanting Manson's slogans. When it was over, 5 people lay dead, including Tate, who had pleaded with the killers to spare the life of her unborn child. The murders sent shockwaves through the country.
I take responsibility for those 9 people getting killed.
Manson and his followers were eventually arrested and put on trial. Manson, who had never actually participated in the murders, was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and sentenced to death. His followers received similar sentences.
My mother taught me was that everything she said was a lie. And I learned never to believe anyone about anything.
Over the years, the Manson family murders have become the stuff of legend. Manson himself died in prison in 2017.
Manson should have died a long time ago. He was sentenced to the gas chamber in 1971, but California later outlawed the death penalty actually a year later. So the murders at the time really shocked the country, partly because it was Hollywood and partly because they were so bizarre. Sharon Tate was 8.5 months pregnant. They hogtied her, stabbed her 16 times, and then wrote "pig" across her front door in her own blood. The next night, Manson's followers killed 2 more people, writing helter-skelter in blood on their refrigerator. He was truly a cult leader. He collected this group of drifters and runaways and young women living commune-style in the hills around Los Angeles. And they took a lot of acid. They saw themselves as the Manson family. And they carried out his murders. He would claim innocence. As for Manson himself, well, he was raised by an abusive aunt and uncle and began his own criminal career at age 9.
But the memory of his crimes lives on. Many people are still fascinated by Manson and his followers, and by the strange and twisted belief system that led them to commit such horrific acts.
Well, howdy to you. You're Jethro, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am. You hear any music?
No, should I?
Well, yeah. I should too, but I don't, darn it.
Well, if you'll wait, I'll hum something for you.